Hello everybody, today it is me, Captain Aries, once again popping in, which I haven't done for a while, even though I said I would. I'm here actually to talk about Rwby. Now, I've talked about Rwby before in another video, but I know that Volume 8 has come out, or at least started coming out, I should say, because it's in the current process of being put out. Sorry. It's in the current process of being put out. Right now, I believe we're on episode 2. If you're with the Rooster Teeth free thing, whatever it is, but basically there's only one episode out free right now to viewers on legal sites. Not to knock off the people who are watching from illegal sites, but yeah. I may or may not have seen a little clip from the new episode of episode 2 of Volume 8. So I'm just making a current video because I watched Volume 8, Episode 1 with a friend of mine last night. And I started to realize something as I started watching it. So if you haven't watched Volume 1, I technically am not spoiling anything for that. I don't think. I'm more or less making a lot of assumptions based on the opening. Now, as a Rwby fan, there's a lot of us who can definitely say that some of the openings do give away a lot more than they usually say with the music once it's fully released, which it won't be for a year, so we won't really know. But this one's called The End, and if everybody obviously has been following the rest of the Rwby franchise to a degree, I'd say, at least I care a lot about openings and the lyrics behind a lot of the songs they do, because the whole reason I keep getting back into Rwby is the songs. But there's a song in Volume 7 that plays at the end when Oscar is falling that's called Until the End. And it's Rwby's song to her mom, and at one point she says, "I'll promise I'll be here till the end." And this freaking opening is called The End, and I saw someone write that, and I was like, oh, no, 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 no. I don't think Rwby's gonna die, but there's gonna be a lot of stuff happening that, woo, it's gonna be rough. Anyway, it's time to get into the actual meat of my theories that I have for Volume 8 right now. To put it simply, a lot of this arc, I believe, is going to revolve around Penny. Now, why do I think that? It's going to be Penny and Cinderella, I think, is mostly. Which, now that we've seen a little bit of Cinder's backstory, in the first episode, which, in case you don't already know or guessed, Cinder stands for Cinderella, as most of the characters in the Rwby franchise are basically taken out of context fairy tale characters and developed in weird ways. Now, we can see from the past Rwby stuff that these characters often meet a different fate than the ones that happen in the Disney ones, like Beauty and the Beast, which would be Blake and Adam, Beauty and the Beast. In the Disney, obviously, they fell in love. And I don't know what the Grimm fairy tale version of it is, but I'm going to assume that's a little more accurate to what's happening. So, I'm a little stressed, I'm not gonna lie, because, first of all, Penny, in the opening, has a lot of issues with self. In the first episode, you can see there's a lot of doubt happening with her, and a lot of conflicting emotions of responsibility and what she needs to do. And a lot of times when you see her in the opening, she physically is in the middle of both the things. She physically puts herself in the middle of everything that is happening in that big fight scene in the opening of Volume 8. Now, near the end of it, Volume 8, we see her eyes go red and stuff like that. Now, here's what I think is gonna go down. Spoiler alert. I'm gonna make some pretty big extrapolations from this. You can tell me if I'm wrong. Totally, just bash me in the comment section. Please don't bash me. But here's what I think is gonna happen. First of all, the reason I'm a little skeptic now, because I've started connecting the dots, is Penny is obviously Pinocchio. She's not a real person. compared to everybody else. And I saw that, and then I remembered, what is Salem riding? A whale. What happens to Pinocchio and his father when they go near the whale? They get swallowed whole. Now, Penny is Pinocchio and Pietro, which is scientist father. Love him. Scientist dad. He is Penny's creator, thus Penny's father, and is referred to as such. So I have this feeling with her being read in the opening, that is on a context of Pietro's gonna get caught or swallowed by the whale or killed in the whale, and Penny is going to go psycho. That's a theory, or potentially she joins up with them to save her father or some sort of hostage situation. So yeah, that's my idea with Penny and the whale. Now, another thing, if you know anything about the Pinocchio story, is that I believe it's a fairy, but a angel or fairy makes Penny or Pinocchio into a real boy. Now, what I think is that Salem is the equivalent of a witch, aka the only person who can do magic, aka the only person who could potentially turn her human. So I think Salem's going to tempt her into becoming a human. Is going to say, I can do this for you so you can be valid, so you can be real, so all these emotions you're feeling, people won't brush you off anymore, all these things. That Penny has been scared that she's not feeling normal, or that she's always been brushed off, at least by Ironwood's crew, that she isn't human enough for them to even really talk to in a way, because she's not talked to as if she's human. She's constantly kind of downgraded to something that's not human, even though she feels human emotions because she has an aura and she projects it. So she's always constantly doubting whether or not she's real or not. She just thinks she's playing a role like Pinocchio did when he was a puppet. Playing a role and wanting more. So what I think is Salem is going to be the fairy who tempts her into becoming a human. Now, what I think is going to happen from that is potentially Penny taking over for Cinder. Because at Cinderella at midnight, she goes back to being a normal girl. I think when Cinderella pops back at midnight, she's going to be killed. Now, the reason I think that part of that's real is because when we are in the opening, there is a phrase that happens near where Neo is, where Emerald is, and where Cinder is, that says people are gone too soon. People die too soon or end too soon. Lives end too soon. Some lives end too soon. That's it. Some lives end too soon. And Cinder is in the main shot of that throughout the whole thing of it. Emerald and Neo are in the background, but Cinder's the one that, like, physically is walking and feeling the pain. So I have this feeling that Cinder's not going to be able to handle the grim that's in her body, and she's going to be killed by Penny almost, and taken over as a protege for the fairy godmother who turns Cinderella into a princess for the night to get what she wants and to do horrible things to the stepmother and all that. I think fairy godmother and the fairy of Pinocchio are the same person in this, and essentially Salem's going to tempt Penny into becoming a human. Penny is going to take over for Cinder, and because Cinderella goes home at midnight and Cinder's going to die. I think in this volume we're going to see a definite end to Cinder's reign. I do also have another thing I kind of peeked at in episode 2, which, if anybody's watching Rwby the legal way, we're all getting a bunch of spoilers on Tumblr, we're getting a bunch of spoilers on YouTube. It's rough right now for those trying to be spoiler free, especially when YouTube keeps suggesting me videos that are straight up telling me what's going on. They're straight up, like, the freaking title of the YouTube video is telling me what's gonna happen, and I'm like, it's like 20 seconds long, I'm like, dude, I don't want to see this yet. But I think a lot of us have kind of accidentally come across this spoiler in episode 2, so warning, leave in 5 seconds if you do not want to hear the spoiler part, or maybe skip like 2 minutes. Alright, we good? We good. Okay. So at one point we have, in episode 2, what I saw at least was Oscar being taken hostage by a wolf Grimm that actually spoke. Now, let's unpack all that fucking bullshit. I can see it's a wolf. People have talked about how it looks like a wolf. Now, let's get into all of Red Riding Hood's bullshit. Which, if you don't know, Ruby Rose is Red Riding Hood. Now, the story of that is Red Riding Hood goes into the woods, a wolf stalks her, and essentially takes over for the grandmother, eats her grandmother, and he gets killed by hunters after Red Riding Hood runs out. Now, the issue with that is that who's kind of like a grandma to Ruby right now? I definitely say Maria. You know what? I love Maria, but Maria's kind of like, they kind of share some similarities with their scythe work, with their eyes, and kind of being a mentor right now, and I bet she's going to become more of a mentor. Wolf and Little Red Riding Hood, I think at one point the wolf is going to eat Maria. I don't know. Or they could once again kidnap Maria and Pietro and all that. But the wolf and Little Red Riding Hood, I feel like that has a lot of significance in a way, because it's the first Grimm to talk, to pretend to be something it's not. I think it's going to eventually have abilities that it can pretend to be something it's not. And I'm so frightened. Or it's going to be, I don't know, because it looks like it's being born in the other one. But I feel like it also could be referring to the grandmother, be referring to almost maybe potentially Ruby's mom. I'm not quite sure. Point is, there's a lot of interesting things happening right now. I don't know everything that's happened in episode 2. I do know that Oscar's getting caught. I do know probably that he's gonna get taken back to Salem, which shows up in Volume 8 trailer with Salem like hovering over him like Mothman. Sorry, I had to bring that up. Somebody put a Tumblr post about Salem being the Mothman and Mothwoman and having Lamp, and I started crying. It was a great night. Whoever made that post, thank you for the love of God for giving us a God tier Ruby post. That was wonderful. So I really wanted to make this theory video for what I figured out, because I felt like it was a lot I figured out all at once when I was immediately connected Penny, the whale, Pietro being the grandfather, Salem being the fairy, potentially more than that was Salem turning her human and maybe making her take over for Cinder, giving her false beliefs because she's so naive like Pinocchio is. At some point, maybe we might even get a fox, because there's oftentimes people refer to the Disney version, which has like foxes that kind of tempt Pinocchio into doing bad things. I think we might get a fox-like character or something like that, or maybe a fox faunus, or maybe somebody who just has like fox-like differences. I'm really worried. Oh god, I'm so worried. I've been really upset ever since I saw Clover, and Clover's probably most likely definitely dead, and I'm a big fair game shipper, and that kind of nailed my sadness in the gut. I knew it was true, I knew, but there was some part of me that was like, what if? But yeah, I guaranteed he was gone. Because you see him on the Mortician table in episode 1. Also, James is going on a downward spiral. We all kind of knew that was going to start happening. Because once you start shooting one person that's close to you, you don't really stop. He crossed his own morals a little while ago, but that really hit the mark once he started crossing the morals. Something else that's really interesting is that I'm not going to talk about the Nora and Ren thing right now, because I think there's not enough really for me to go on at the moment in terms of fairy tales. But Nora is in a cold place. I know she's Norse mythology, so some shit might go down with that. But I am intrigued what else is going to happen. I think Ironwood's going to go down. I think it's going to be very Penny-centric and Riding Hood-centric. with the fairy tales, because the last few volumes it's been more Blake and Adam with Beauty and the Beast. Goldilocks trying to get away from the beast that kind of put her in a mindset. Yeah. So, peace out. That's all I had. See you next time for an update. Bye.